Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting ready for Game 2, and I could not be more excited, Rooted, especially after Game 1. I'd come into the day already sold on both of these teams with the crazy way that Ambition has been approaching the game, and the decisive and overwhelming power of 100 Thieves next. But seeing them both on display, it was something else entirely.
It really was, right? We got to see the compositions, our theories, our ideologies of these squads pretty much pen to paper, put on a show for us in that game number 1. TA went for this talent in the jungle. The third time round, Anticipation has taken this pick for himself. An aggressive mid laner as well on the same side here. The Yone not quite finding the same successes that the Talon did, but still getting that sort of core, the ideologies of TA really down to a T. And then 100 Thieves next, going with something a little bit more traditional here in the 12.1 meta, but looked more than capable of pulling it off right here. Array on Jhin, similarly kind of left to his own little devices down in the bot lane, whilst Dombre and Fnatic in particular started all of these plays off, started initiating for the 100 Thieves squad and putting them out in front.
I sort of throwing my mind back. It's difficult for me to think of a play that wasn't started by a hook or a flash cataclysm, especially early on. I mean, in team fights, so much of it was Dawnbray, but in setting up laners around skirmishes, finding success, finding picks in the jungle, I felt like it was all Fnatic, and these two really spearheaded the majority of the engages and the majority of the safety that was spelled out for the rest of the carries on 100 Thieves next. It's part of what made their team fights so exciting to watch.
It really did. You know, the early stages putting Nemesis 9 down in the dirt with those flash cataclysms, you know, time and time again, it was Fnatic making those plays. And then, as you say, later on, Dombre, the one trying to sort of signal those ways forward. Now, as we are going to be moving into game number 2 here, we've got the draft about to pop up for you guys right now. Here's Team Ambition back on the blue side here. So there's a very real possibility that we see this sort of rinse and repeat here of, okay, Team Ambition saying, you know what? If we do something a little bit better, execute slightly more in the early stages, we've got just as good an opportunity to take down 100 Thieves as anybody. Same bans to begin with here. TA went with the Lee Sin in the first stage last time. It was Jinx and Irelia to follow. Let's wait and see if 100 Thieves are also going to repeat here. Olaf went with the Caitlyn and the Hecarim as well to follow these.
Yeah, I will say that thinking about the way the Team Ambition approached at least the very first draft in Game 1, I'd like to see them depart a little bit from the priority on things like the Karma and the Syndra. Not because it ultimately was bad, but because I think that there are other things that they can put in their place. Of course, though, taking away things like the Lee Sin, taking away things like the Aurelia is only respectful and well due against 100 Thieves next.
We swapped out a ban here as well. The Jace taken away from Sniper here just makes sense. Getting rid of that, if he's capable of attempting to blind pick this into whatever you've got to throw at him, he was more than handy at taking down a very squishy support style champion in the top lane. Now, 100 Thieves next, they keep the exact same 3 bans. Last time round, this was a Karma, but obviously with Jinx not on the TA ban list, they could well divert to this as their bot laner, and it already slightly switches up what we expect from this TA squad. Yes, they're a team that like to leave top lane on an island and play more toward their mid and jungle priority, but this lends a little bit more credence to a late game style of play.
I like this a lot, Rudude. I am an enjoyer of this draft. We've got already, I mean, you talked up the Jinx here, and giving Team Ambition another source of consistent damage is great. A Zyra would be so fascinating into this, and I'm not sure how I feel about it into things like the Karma. However, against the Xin Zhao, it does hold potential. Xin Zhao, naturally, though, you talked about this earlier, one of the strongest junglers on this patch. They took the Jarvan once for 100 Thieves next. Why not just change things up?
Yeah, pick up the Xin Zhao here, particularly pairing with the Karma as well. Such a good partnership that we see between these two that can be played mid-jungle. I don't expect to see Insanity sat on Karma duty, though. Doesn't quite seem fair, honestly, to put the ex-LCS player on Karma, but it's a possibility. I'm also a big fan of this Nautilus here, taking that away from Dombre. It was a really good pickup for him as well, if we were to see that Karma flex. There, we got another one. We got another assassin.
Okay, I'm ready. Now, does it go mid or jungle? That's the question. That's the big question, is where is this set going? Because you and I both know Team Ambition can take it anywhere. However, I think it's also worth talking about this Ezreal that we haven't seen just yet, because we may not know where Zed is going. We know exactly where this Ezreal is going, and not only that, but what he's doing with the team.
Well, currently, I'm certainly sure that this is nothing with the team for the early stages, and that's sort of why you've allowed Ezreal. He's one of the best champions at sitting under a turret and being safe, keeping himself alive here, making sure that there's nothing really that Team Ambition can do. And very good on minimal resources as well. His item build path actually fairly low in gold as well, compared to that of a Jinx, for example. So already out of these first 2 picks, we've got jungle and bot lane. I'm going to use that tentatively and just assume that Anti is going to be taking this Zed. There's still the opportunity for them to flex it into the mid lane, but he has played 2 Zed games already, and it's just the one for Nemesis on the other side of things. Now, once again, 100 Thieves, they're sticking to their bans here, Tahm Kench and Malphite. They will be more than happy to try and take some top side priority with whichever top laner General Sniper tends to feel about here, and with the Camille ban taken away now, one more ban to be taken out. Last time around they went for Twisted Fate. If they want that again for Insanity's ban pool, they're more than well within their rights to do so.
I don't mind a Renekton here for 100 Thieves next as well, just sort of thinking about top lane picks that they could grab. You can go for something that is just very all-around strong, and that Riven ban says it all, guys. If you hadn't been paying attention to the bans, just draw your eyes up real quick, because the fact is that when Sniper can draw those kinds of bans, he's definitely warping the game. Whatever 100 Thieves next choose to go with here is ultimately going to give either their mid laner or their top laner counter pick, and that's what we're looking out for. It's going to be counter pick given over to Insanity, and interestingly enough, a Gwen handed to their top laner.
Okay, so we've got a couple options now for TA. Obviously, we're expecting a more supportive style tank in that top lane, and typically that's where Gwen is going to be able to shine. Should be more than capable at trying to pick up a good sort of foundation for success. And we'll have to wait and see what the answer is here, because remember, there's still the opportunity to flex the mid lane, and this is really smart from 100 Thieves next, not showing their mid lane hand, just in case the TA, so it's sort of limiting the TA flex here. They're going to have to show their hand before 100 Thieves show theirs, and really just smart drafting to pick up this top lane pick first of all. It's going to be that Victor in the mid lane, another pick that Nemesis has played a couple of times already in the open qualifiers, and a much more stable, much more generic here composition from TA in general, with the Victor Jinx, regardless of what the top side looks like. You've got stable fighting later on.
100 Thieves kind of fall into this thing as well with the last pick there, going, oh, we got last pick, but yeah, ultimately Corki's probably best, because we're going against a Victor, so why not just have the nice bit of scaling, the nice bit of safety that Corki provides. And honestly, I can't say that I mind it, Rude Dude. It does still give you that great backline, this amazing hyper scaling, although I will say that looking at the composition of 100 Thieves next, the one thing that they are missing is engage, where Team Ambition have a whole lot more of that lockdown.
And honestly, that's kind of why you're allowed as 100 Thieves here to not have so much engage, because if you're trying to engage versus this composition, rule number one is Set's just going to fling you back anyway and counter your engage, and you're giving him free reign into your backline essentially. So they're going to be playing a much more reserved, much more range-oriented style of play. And then as we get later into those team fights, they've still got frontline. Engage may not be their forte, but frontline, you've actually got in abundance here. Nobody that's the generic tank, but they're going to have Fnatic with the Crescent Guard, they're going to have Sniper, who's got his W as well, the auto attack immunity, the damage immunity that is going to be coming through on this front line for 100 Thieves next, means that there are going to be maybe 5-6 seconds of team fight where Nightstar and Nemesis are just sort of sat there twiddling their thumbs going, I'm using all my abilities, but they're not doing any damage. Why is our god so cruel?
I'm looking at this and thinking, actually, when I cover up the Xin Zhao, I mean, you can probably leave him. When I cover up the Zed on Team Ambition, I'm actually getting a pretty normal team composition. This is a very, very standard game from them, with the exception of the Zed jungle. And when we're dealing with something like this, where everything is normal except for one pick, I have to ask you, Rooted, how can this one pick warp the game around itself? Can Zed become the center point of this game, or is it ultimately going to be something that seems good in theory, like it could do stuff, but realistically just doesn't have impact?
I think that first of all, it's important to say that I would much rather, and I think that most people would much rather, have comfort over the sort of status quo more so than anything else, right? Anticipation here on a champion that he's very comfortable with, would much rather that than, first timing a Lee Sin or a Jarvan, for example, here. And I think that this time round, when you pick these assassin style junglers, you want winning late. I'm certainly going to look that bot lane and say, hey, you know what, Jinx Nautilus probably going to have push priority, probably going to do fairly well versus the Ezreal early on. There is a world where Dombre is able to sort of mitigate that push factor with the Mantra Q, with the pushback that Flare does put down, but Decoy as well on this top side. A lot more agency on a set than you do a Karma, so there are certainly lanes for anticipation, and we're going to be hoping that, you know, that Zed maybe has a couple more lanes to play through this time around, and a little bit less of a one-man band in this time out.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like it's going to be a lot more about how things start to come together. And of course, speaking of that, one of the things that we didn't really get a large focus on last game that I'm not expecting to shift around too much this game is, or are, those dragons, especially when we think about neutral objectives and the platform that they allow for these teams to fight around. I think that the team that I'm looking to succeed most on those is 100 Thieves next, because it is their time to draw Team Ambition into a team fight. Because you're operating on a composition that has relatively little engage, the only time that Team Ambition actually have to fight 100 Thieves next is when 100 Thieves next are between Team Ambition and an objective that Team Ambition wants. That's the position that I want to see Red Side in more often than not.
Yeah, and 100 Thieves next with this comp, they do have the outrange capability here, and it's kind of rare to say that, you know, you're going to be outranging a Victor and a Jinx, because these guys, when we get to the late stages of the game, with lethal tempo fully stacked, with the effective range of Chaos Storm and lasers, it's hard to outrange a Victor and a Jinx, but yet somehow Array and Insanity have that capability. Wouldn't be surprised to see Insanity diversify the build from what we're usually seeing here, and maybe going for this new age Luden's style of build where you opt into, you know, the Tiamat into Ravenous Hydra plus a Mana Moon as well. But early on, look at this. Chukis isn't even in bot lane, dear. He's already up in the top side. They are looking to bully out Fnatic from his jungle, and so far so good.
It's just the bamboozling red buff. It does end up coming out to play, so Anti is going to end up picking that up, but Nightstar definitely suffering down here without Chookies by his side. I like Jinx. She's very powerful, but the level 1, especially in a 1 versus 2, isn't exactly where I'd put most of that strength, and getting Anti ahead is already coming at a rather large cost for the bot side.
Arcane buff's pretty strong, but 1v2ing a lane, I'm not quite sure that that's the full strength of it right here, but anticipation here, he steals away 2 camps on the top side. They will most likely be answered by Fnatic here. Whether or not he's going to go for a dive is certainly something that could reach the realms of possibility. Looks like it is just going to be an attempted steal away of the enemies at red buff, sweeps through on this bot side as well, and even if we see Anticipation move his way down here, Fnatic is with full support of his bot lane right now, because Nightstar, not only is he under his turret, he doesn't want to give up a single creep. He's been starved out of the first wave or two and doesn't want to be giving up anything to move over to his jungler here. So this is a free invade. This is Fnatic more than happy to take this one. And, you know, just keep Anticipation in check. Say, hey, you know what? You may have slowed me down, but I've still been able to collect the farm, albeit at a slower pace here.
I mean, just to sort of contextualize things, though, Fnatic may end up being caught out. Anti has finally finished his own clear of the top side and rotated down, leaving Fnatic without too much to do but run off into his own jungle, collecting the Scuttle Crab on his way. So bot side's still going to be very, very safe for this Xin Zhao, but until he gets his reset, picks up a few more items, I don't think he wants to be skirmishing with the Zed just yet. Donbray and Array, though, skirmishing in the bot side as Hook connects, and ultimately, neither support takes all that much damage.
No, the Karma here, very good at mitigating damage, and of course Aftershock plus Nautilus W tend to do the same sort of thing. That's the Arcane Comet.
A step a little bit too far forward there. Dawnbreak getting ignited now, potentially being taken down as he flashes away, gets healed, and leaves Array in the front lines. Nightstar not flashing for that kill, instead going quite low himself. Leave 100 Thieves still in the driver's seat at the end of what looked like it may have been a critical misstep.
Yeah, and you know, if we take a look at what this 100 Thieves bot lane is still working with, the resources, the consumables in their way, they've still got 2 biscuits for Array, the health potion as well. The biscuit going to be doing much better at restoring the mana necessarily than the health, particularly since Array doesn't actually have any health missing. But right now, Team Ambition operating with no more resources. They're going to be calling for some jungle assistance if they need it to sort of break out of this lane and give them a little bit more opportunity to find that reset timing, because so far, as you would imagine when you don't have a support for the first couple waves, Array is far and away ahead right here. This Karma bullying out the Nautilus as well in the early stages is exactly what they're looking for, and as we get later into the game, the Karma in this later stage will be very, very impactful. We'll be vastly outscaling the Nautilus in terms of utility that she can pump on out, and you sort of rely on this one hook hits all.
Now, uncharacteristically, we've been focusing a lot on the bot lane of 100 Thieves Next, but this is what I really like. When they start paying attention into the mid lane, into their solo lanes that we know are powerful, Dawnbray and Fnatic throwing a little gank towards Nemesis, not too much comes of it, but I like the ever-shifting focus up towards Insanity, and potentially later on, up towards Sniper and Decoy.
Yeah.
Or at least, Decoy would certainly like some attention, because he's got 18 CS right now.
He's not having the best of time. Sniper as well been finding cheater recall after free recall as well. Dombre,
oh,
careful.
Dead. He's already dead. I saw him step over into the banner and he was already gone. First blood goes to Anti and Team Ambition. Their patience pays off. Dombre, the second critical misstep this game.
Yeah, another, well, the first blood here that goes the way of TA. This could well translate into a dragon as well. And unfortunately, you know, we do see a couple of the consequences from 100 Thieves Next of Dombre being so willing to roam and then not quite be as patient on his way back to the laning phase. After the first reset, Dombre very happy to just leave Array on his own, particularly on the Ezreal. He can get away with it here, but he's just caught out moving his way back into the lane. The dragon is going to be given over as well. And the good thing about this here for 100 Thieves is this gives Fnatic time to get himself back into this jungle matchup here. The CS now starting to even up a little bit here. You can see Anticipation still has 3 of his 4 counts to take, and those, okay, Sniper, those will be ulti.
Decoy still has one of his own flashes to get himself under tower. I like the, oh, so close to being turned around there, but no channel on the Haymaker means that Sniper gets out with that kill and a wave that's frozen back towards him.
Yeah, this is beautiful. So far, there's been no impact on the top lane by either of the junglers, but it is Sniper who is simply showing his class here. The mechanical sort of interaction in this top lane here, really the only thing that has been tested so far, and it is Sniper that's coming out on top. Decoy unfortunately not being able to hold a candle to what this Gwen has been putting out. CS lead has been picked up pretty much throughout. From level 1 was getting zoned away from farm, and now we have to sort of wait and see if TA can hold on here, because their composition, as we've talked about, does team fight incredibly well, and they've got the engage to set it up. If you get to a position where Nightstar is still far and away not at those 2-3 item power spikes, the same to be said for Nemesis as well on this Victor. Those team fights may look good on paper, but if you don't have the damage to back it up, it's just going to be 100 Thieves running away with yet another game.
It seems like the increasingly inevitable reality right now, especially with the way that Array has continued the momentum. Nightstar, at the very least, shouldn't be able to match up in power level, barring some really nice kill collections in the team fights. Chookies, I like the attitude, throwing out another hook, but that means that no hooks available to keep Nightstar safe, and yet another chunk ends up going through on this Jinx.
Yeah, this is really good, just micro mechanics from the spot side. Okay, we have no hook, let's just try and find a trade. Need to look more so at what the squads are looking to accomplish with the remaining sort of 2-3 minutes here of this early gamers. More first strike, more gold for Array. And honestly, I'm looking to Team Ambition to just keep on slowing the pace of this game. They need to try and stabilize what's happening in top lane, stabilize bot lane, because right now, we've talked about their late game win condition, but they're not going to get there. The gold is being sort of stalled from them, from the outlaning that is happening. And again, puts a lot of pressure on Anticipation, and I feel a bit silly because, you know, I've highlighted these 2 lanes that I was hoping would give him give Anticipation a bit more leniency here, a bit more authority, agency in this game. Unfortunately, they've just not had that. Fnatic is going to be spotted on this ward, so should be okay to just let TA go back. But he's just here to force them off the turret. They don't want to let them catch this wave. And you can see that both junglers just sort of here to mitigate one another's presence, and it's just going to act as though they're both here in the 2v2.
Now, Anticipation has hit level 6, and now even 7 if he wants to try and find a play onto 2 very squishy bot laners. But like you rightfully called out, the fact that 100 Thieves ended up getting here first, being the ones to make Anticipation take the defensive position is the really worrying thing right now, because the Zed without autonomy isn't going to be doing too much at all. He's not known as a great peeler, he's not known as a great counter engager. Zed is an assassin, and not being able to use the backup of his team to make these plays is going to make things very difficult for him. As Insanity, perhaps making things a little difficult for himself, does end up using the Valkyrie right back out after that package. The Fnatic on the way. It's Nemesis that should have to back off here, as once again, Anti has to roam up defensively.
Absolute brawl in the mid lane here. Exhaust.
This is the ult. He's on top of Insanity. Nice flash, though. And a flash right on top of him does end up getting Anti yet another kill. As he gets that traded back on him. He takes Dawnbreak down as well. This Zed is insane right now. Anti is just showing us something else.
Team Ambition here come up 3 for 1 in the mid lane. Nemesis able to bait in just well enough. And Dawnbreak actually makes a pretty crucial mistake right there. Steps back onto the living shadow of Anticipation under the good presence of mind to simply press E, pick up the freebie of the Karma sat on your shadow, quite rightly. Collects a second kill for himself in that skirmish. Overall, they come out on top here. They're getting kills onto their Zed and assists onto their Victor. Probably the best allocation of those resources, really, because your Zed's getting items, your Victor is getting upgrades. They are putting themselves in a good spot to keep this early game in their favor. And like we said, if we get to the later stages, if they can find those engages, they're in a good spot.
Decoy may just go down, though. No flash this time to reposition underneath the tower, but this time as well, he ends up getting that haymaker off as Insanity jumps right into Chookies. The play from Team Ambition leaves no question that they were going to pick up yet another kill. 5-2 on the scoreboard, and with the Dragon up in just 10 seconds, Team Ambition should get themselves a little bit of extra damage off the Infernal.
If Anticipation can get in range of Insanity, get in range of Array, they've got no answer to this. Dawnbreak has 1 exhaust and potentially 2 shields with Mantra to go between the two of them, but that exhaust a very long cooldown. The shields obviously a little bit less so, but he's got full Duskblade already completed. That is a lot of lethality already in the back pocket, with no armor stacked up by the 100 Thieves next carries. The 100 Thieves team as a whole don't have any armor to speak of. Expect those steel caps to start to build their way in, but at that point you're starting to think, okay, we're building all this armor. There's still a Victor in the game here. This guy is still going to be looking to pump out DPS left, right, and center. And if he goes unchecked once again, he could very easily do it.
It's looking like that may be the play, at least for the side of Team Ambition, but oh no, Array steps a little bit too far forward, has to burn the flash and the jump to get away, and instead doesn't even end up surviving, as Anti was able to take him down. Nightstar still surviving as well, takes a decent chunk, but still manages to stay alive as Team Ambition lose nothing and get a very big prize towards this bot side. It's once again Anti, and this time the hook from Chookies that started it off.
Can he be the carry force now? Team Ambition's jungler has been set up for success. Can he take the win? Deathmark, unfortunately, onto Fnatic there, and he doesn't want to try and commit to that. Nightstar also flashes forward, and no idea quite how he lives this, to be honest. 1 Q goes right from Dawnbreak, which is actually what gives Nightstar the sort of reprieve. But I want to, this is a great time here, dear. We've cut back up to this top lane. There is a Titan forming right now for 100 Thieves next, and we haven't seen it in any sort of team fights just yet, but Sniper TP unleashes in 1 minute. At some point, he's going to make his way toward a team fight. He's going to be let out of his top lane prison and going to make something happen on the map. And I need to see the Sniper versus Anti fight, because that is where we're going to see the real indication of how this game's going to go. Yes, it's the 2 Fed members of each squad going head to head with one another, and if Sniper is able to deal with Anticipation, then TA, they don't have a lot of answers here. They've still got the Victor, they've got this relatively underwhelming Jinx right now, and that is going to make it very difficult for them to deal with what is a very scary Gwen.
I've got to say, one of the things that I really like about that matchup, especially if you're a 100 Thieves fan, you're looking at the Gwen Zed and going, well, one of us is going to build Hourglass, and that's going to be real nice, isn't it? Sniper should have a much easier time, especially once he hits those 2 or 3 items, depending on the way that he chooses to approach this. And already, you can see Fnatic starting to recognize that, playing a little bit more up towards the top side, knowing that Array and Dawnbreak are just fine, but that you can rely on the scaling that this Gwen will give you inside of the later game team fights. Array and Dawnbray are going to be able to push in the wave, and now you can start to consider taking down that top lane tower, unless Anti can take down Dawnbray, as he most certainly does.
He does the majority of the work, and then Nightstar, to get himself a little bit of extra cash in the back pocket, fires off that Super Mega Death Rocket and says thank you very much. Drake spawning in a couple of minutes time here, so the objective not quite going to be ready for them to secure. But I think at that one, that's Soul Point, dear. They've done a very good job here, Team Ambition, at putting objectives in early. They're ahead in gold. They've got the tools here to give themselves a win. Insanity.
We're doing this. We're jumping right on top of Nemesis. Just now that damage reduction runs out, but as it does, Nemesis flashes away, keeping himself safe. 100 Thieves aren't done yet, though. Channeling that Rift Herald. They want not the one tower that they got in the top lane, but a second one in this mid lane once again, getting themselves a lot more pressure on the map. And if you'll recall, Rudude, this was a big turning point in Game 1. When mid lane tower fell, Team Ambition seemed lost for just a small second, but it was long enough for 100 Thieves to be able to get the game firmly into their command. Now they've taken down the mid lane tower for the second game in a row. Will history repeat itself?
Only time will tell. It's a large sort of pressure here now on Nemesis to keep himself relevant in this game. Obviously 1-0-3 on the victory is a very admirable scoreline, right? This guy is by no means having a bad game, even ahead in farm and ahead in experience, more so, excuse me, than in sanity. And I'd love to mention this one, that levels give you just so much intangible gold as well here. There's a level lead in the jungle, there's a level lead in the mid lane here. There's about 500 gold in every champion's level, that if you're not a support, that is. So that's 1,000 gold that you don't see on the top of your screen, that is in fact in favour here of Team Ambition. We're sort of excluding what's happening top lane as Fnatic gets shown that, yes, you're playing as Inzile now, you've got plated steel caps, but Zed's almost 2 items. He's a scary boy.
Teleport came through from Sniper, though. He's ready for this fight, and if anybody can change this, Sniper certainly can. No Zanya's just yet, but he is more than ready to fight. Seems like, however, the rest of 100 Thieves say, why would we do that when we can just take more towers? They give up Soul Point here, but Tier 2 is most certainly theirs.
Yeah, so it's this sort of trade-off right now. They're gaining a large portion of map control by taking down this mid-tier 2 in exchange for Soul Point. And in 5 minutes' time, that may well come to bite them. But we've got about 5 minutes' time now where Team Ambition are going to have to be very cognizant of wherever they go. They have got very little support when trying to make their way to get vision. You know, typically you can try and fall back to the bastion of mid lane, but you have to fall back all the way to your base or inside to one of those side lane turrets. It's going to be a fairly difficult one to keep vision up for, particularly when you don't have the response of the enemy's mid tier 1 at all. So again, Team Ambition, they've traded off here, wave control and lane states more so for anything else in the mid lane, and the vision for getting a little bit of gold here on the side lane and also picking up that Mountain Drake.
I'm a really big fan, speaking of those dragons, of the fact that Team Ambition were able to get all of these objectives, with Anti already burning part of the mobility from the Zed, though. He's gonna have to flash away, already having burned the exhaust, and now use the ultimate. Anti is forced into a no-win scenario, and what had otherwise been the carry of Team Ambition is now left with no way out. Gets taken down, and Nemesis may well follow him as Array jumps forward. Fnatic lands yet another slow, and Nemesis is an auto away from death. Insanity cleans him up, and it's 2 kills for nothing in the favor of 100 Thieves, and potentially the biggest mistake that Team Ambition have made all game.
Yeah, it's not just 2 kills here, it's 2 kills on the most important carries here of Team Ambition. Anti caught with his hands in the cookie jar, unfortunately, trying to steal away some camps. And I sort of asked you, what does Dawnbray have? Well, he's got the exhaust, he's got those shields, and more than enough to keep himself alive. Sniper sat waiting patiently, able to take him down on return here, and that W as well from the Gwen just buying so much time. Nightstar again, like I say, sat there twiddling his thumbs. He can't deal damage to this Gwen, fear of simply dying inside the shroud. So it's unfortunate for Team Ambition, but one overstay gets incredibly well punished by 100 Thieves, a trait that they have got. If they see somebody in a position that they deem inappropriate, they deem illegal, they are going to capitalize and they're going to send them down to the prison.
This is one of the things on the composition of Team Ambition that makes me worry, mainly because they've got a very low margin or very small margin of error that they can use. When we're thinking about this team in the larger context, we saw this play out just last fight. Anti had used the Living Shadow very early on is, I'll say, a little bit more of a confident move to try and dissuade Fnatic. But as soon as he does something like that, he's missing one mobility tool, he's forced to ult, he's missing yet another, and now all of a sudden, Zed really can't do anything. He can be kited out quite easily, and we saw the counterplay right there. He's got to be a chaotic force here. He cannot be the one to start fights. That lies with Chookies, that lies with Decoy, and if Team Ambition are not following those rules, they're gonna start losing the fights.
I'm looking as well at this mid lane right now because Team Ambition here. Okay, we're okay. We're chilling. Chookies is looking. No worries, no worries. Don't worry.
Okay, we're okay. We're okay.
I know you're. I know you're looking for the fights. I think you want to be popping off here, but Team Ambition. They don't have their superstar of the jungle right now. He was off in the top side, clearing out vision, doing his due diligence, doing the macro work, the broader League of Legends play that is sort of fundamental here at trying to find success, particularly again up against a 100 Thieves squad that have looked very much daunting, have won every single game so far in this tournament, and don't look to be trying to lose out on another one here. And you recall what I said maybe 5-10 minutes into this game here. The Team Ambition can try and slow the pace of this game down. They have got the late game of a Jinx and a Victor here. If they can find those engages using Chookies, using Decoy, their team fight still exists and is still very scary if they can find the right timing. Of course, there's a lot of that's a fairly big variable for them to be looking at. But they've also got this sort of presence here of 3 dragons in their back pocket. 1 minute on the Mountain Soul, and that is going to make the poke style of Insanity and Array fairly easy to deal with here. You get hit by one big one as opposed to it dealing maybe 40-50% of your damage here with this crit strike build and not the poke one. You've got that Mountain Soul on. It's a little chip more so than anything else.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether 100 Thieves try and opt into fighting for this dragon, or whether they just give up the soul as they've seemed to want to do for the last little while. Dragons haven't been that important to them, but if they're going to opt into taking something like the dragon, Team Ambition can still take advantage of that, trying to find advantages elsewhere and potentially answering back in the mid lane. 100 Thieves, though, they want to fight. Fnatic is on the front line. They're waiting for the engagement. Chookies, the sniper, goes over the wall. Insanity manages to cut everybody off with a massive package, and Fnatic in the front line, still alive, finally gets taken down as Decoy jumps in, though. It is all chaos, and it's Team Ambition that come out on top of it. No engage for 100 Thieves. It means no lockdown. It means no kills.
Yeah, they're using Insanity to find these engages. They don't quite find the success. It's Fnatic and Sniper that fall, the 2 frontline members here of 100 Thieves, and that is Mountain Soul, the prize that Team Ambition have been working towards, leveraging all of those early game leads that they had. They've now got the full the full power of that Drake behind them. Nemesis also going to be looking to take this mid-tier one. Might be a little bit overreaching, but one more Autumn is actually going to finish the job, and they get gold, they get the kills, they get the Drake here. Everything on Team Ambition here. The Insanity here, you can see, starts off the fight and then doesn't really get into the fight for a few more minutes, a few seconds longer. Nightstar able to find one reset, and as well as all of this, it's actually the sort of, not even the kill that Anticipation gets, it's also the distraction that he causes. Array constantly needs to keep himself at bay. You see Insanity kind of in trouble, but TPs is coming to respond.
He may be able to survive this, actually. Sniper is right on top of him, and he's going to be tanking up the majority of the damage. There comes the Zanya's just in time, though. Annie gets away from Decoy as Anti shows up, though. Sniper should be taken down. Last auto does it, and now it's Fnatic that is up on the chopping block. Slow's going to come in, but the stun manages to catch the Zins out just in time, and as Nightstar pops in to get excited.
Baron.
He's popped in just near the end. It's going to be 2 kills, and now, as you say, Rudude, that sweet, sweet Baron going to Team Ambition.
The same 2 members falling here, dear, that front line. Insanity and Array need to try and utilize their poke. TP back in from Insanity, but Nemesis is running point. Chookies running point. They've got the Mountain Soul to tank this up. Dombre is going to go down on the top side. Can they do this? Baron is 3.
Insanity is waiting over the wall. See if he can try and take this one away. And he is still very close. And Chookies looks for the hook. Valkyrie ends up getting burned, and Nemesis is on the way over. Baron goes down to Team Ambition. You said it yourself, dude. 100 Thieves next have not lost a game just yet. Might this be their first?
They're down a Baron, they're down a Soul. This could well be the first defeat for them. All starting here, just with little bits of poke, fights for vision, and getting a stun right here. Nemesis, this is on the top side whilst the Baron is going down. He's kind of 1v2ing right here. Chukis walks in to just finish off the job, but Array doesn't have the damage to deal with this level 14 Victor, getting so many kills and so much gold in his back pocket. Almost finishes that Rabadon's in combination off of the Baron as well. Right now, Team Ambition, they've got that late game scaling. They've got the Jinx on 2.5 items. As soon as we see the Infinity Edge and the Rabadons come through, that's it. That's the Exodia completed for Team Ambition. They've hit the spikes. They're ready to brawl.
And right now, I would not want to be brawling with them. 100 Thieves are doing their best to avoid all of Team Ambition across the map. But with Nemesis pushing up in the top side, you can't take that 1v1. You can't take this 4v4 down towards the bot side. And with Baron ever pushing in, we're seeing sort of an Uno reverse card of last game, where Baron was doing so much work for 100 Thieves then. Now for Team Ambition, it has become that ever-present force that draws everybody into this bot side in a losing scenario for 100 Thieves.
You can see the power of this Mountain Soul here for Team Ambition there. Just able to absorb a little bit more poke. Yes, the True Shot Barrage came down and the big one did put Nightstar down to about 40% HP, but without it, he probably dies, honestly, and that may seem a little bit overestimating, but you wouldn't be too far wrong here. Now the lifesteal off the wave will give Nightstar a little bit of an opportunity. Look in the mid lane as well. Nemesis pushing in that, so they're trying to play two lanes right now. Obviously going up against Sniper, they've been very easily able to contain the Gwen in these team fights. Isolated, it doesn't become as easy. And this turret fairly low. A lot of gold on these inner turrets in the side lanes should be given over to TA.
I know it's really selfish of me, but I want Sniper to fight Nemesis in a 1v1 so bad right now. They've both got some of the most farm in the game. They're both at almost the same level, and at this point, could just be the fight that changes the game. I think that's the thing that both of them are so afraid of, but the thing is, the longer we wait, the more this falls out of 100 Thieves' control already. Inhibitor tower down in the bot lane, over at half health, and same thing's happening in the mid lane, perhaps even worse, as Nemesis can get yet another chunk so soon with this Victor. You're going to lose an inhibitor tower unless you fight right now, 100 Thieves.
Now they're just going to be conceding it here. The Baron pressure is simply too much, and with Nemesis ready to respond, the 5v5 is not something that 100 Thieves win. Big rocket, that is one rocket from Nightstar, takes Array down to about 60% HP here. They're going to go for more here, dear, because they've got the Baron just now worn off. Looks like everybody's going to go back to doing their own little thing, maybe going back to reset, but 2 inhibitors, that's the prize that you've got for the Baron. That is easily worthwhile for you and a very successful push that they're going to be happy to take on board.
Big moves from Team Ambition, having secured that. We've got the makings of a Zhonga
look at the Elder
still
timing as
for
well.
Sniper. Insanity moving up, and with this next dragon, this Elder Dragon on the horizon, Team Ambition are now in the position where they can dot their I's and cross their T's and start quite literally executing people if they can just pick up this next Drake.
Yeah, the slight saving grace then here for 100 Thieves next is that the 2 lanes that have got inhibitors down are the 2 lanes that are focused around the dragon here. Will be easy to continually clear out those waves and then make your way to the Drake within a fairly prompt amount of time. The bad news is, we see those items come through. We've now got Serpent's Fang on the Zed. We've got a Rabadon's for victory. Infinity Edge for Nightstar on this Jinx. If you were looking to take a fight as Team Ambition, now is the time to do it.
The hook ends up landing though. Fnatic in the front line is still a good scenario, but a double knockup ends up landing from Chookies, keeping everybody at bay. Array and Insanity couldn't lay down the damage just yet, but package still very much available for Insanity. Around this dragon is a large prize. Decoy is thinking of using the ultimate, doesn't quite get the engage though, and now set quite low. Nemesis with the shield broken, maybe giving up this objective. It's all up to whether Andy can get inside the pit or not, because Sniper isn't here to take the fight.
They've both got TP though. Top laners coming through. This set fight could be
Oh
huge
lord,
here.
this is so massive. Fnatic though jumps over the wall to try and start the fight. Well, Anti jumps on top of Insanity. Insanity has gone golden in the meantime and manages to survive, but in comes Decoy from the side into the backline, picks up 2, and Sniper on the other side is left up creek, up river without a paddle. This Gwen is big, but is she big enough? I think not. Another hit lands, and Anti ends up picking up the kill. Sniper is down, and Insanity, the last one left alive. 400 Thieves cannot save this game.
No chance here. He's got to try and do as much wave clear as possible, but with double super creeps, another one coming through, and 4 members even of Team Ambition trying to tear you down. You have to imagine here that this Nexus, not long for the world. Team Ambition clapping back.
This is incredible to see from them, and as they end up taking the last hit on the Nexus for Game 2, a totally unexpected turn of events sends us to a 3-game series, where a lot of people would have come into this saying Team Ambition versus 100 Thieves may be a wash. Team Ambition saying nay. They are here to party, and Rudude, that looked so good from them.
It did, and it was these small draft changes that they've pulled out, okay? The late game scaling that they now have in their back pocket just makes their composition so much better here. They don't have a clock on their comp. They've got a slight front line as well to find those engages. Really impressed with Decoy. He did lose out or got solo killed once in the top lane after a slight misplay from not pressing Haymaker, but lost gracefully after that, was more than capable at being that team fight presence that he needed to be, even in that last fight, getting the just about max range E on either side to collect 2 more members of 100 Thieves next and send them back to the grave as well. This weak side player did a very good job at doing exactly what his team wanted him to and be that presence in a team fight as well.
Yeah, he was just the bastion that we had spoken about before getting into these games, and with somebody like that who can play this set so confidently, I can't wait to see what kinds of stuff he pulls out in Game 3, because to be able to group up with the team to lose gracefully against somebody the caliber of Sniper, it's just incredible, Rooted. I want to hear what our analyst desk has to say about that game, however, as we are going to toss it over to them before we jump into our third game.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on back to the desk. Okay, Ambition. Showing how ambitious they are. Taking a game off of 100 Thieves Nets tier. There are now no longer any teams that are undefeated inside of this circuit qualifier. That is fantastic to see. And oh man, Ambition did it with Zed Jungle. Styling and profiling.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to see from them. They've got the Zed Jungle comfort pick. It's really strong right now in that role as well. I'm really glad that they got to show up on this one and take a game off of that first seed in the first series as well. This is a bit of an unorthodox one to really break apart the Zed as well, but I think it really does show why this champion is so strong and why this team has been picking it so often in mid as well. They really like this champ.
Yeah, they absolutely do, but it just shows that like the way they were able to play around it, cleaned up their draft quite a bit. But Zoo, you were looking at the 100 Thieves draft over on the other side, and you weren't too big of a fan of some of the tools that they gave themselves inside this draft.
Yeah, I think when I was doing my prep for this series, the name of the game for me was, if I'm 100 Thieves and I'm on red side, it's eliminate good wave clear, eliminate easy to execute base champions that scale well into mid to late game where the enemy can flip a team fight on me. And, you know, when you're giving over Jinx Victor and you're doing an Ezreal Karma lane and a Corki lane with Xin Zhao to match, I feel like you have no pressure. You know, Dombre looked a bit uncomfortable on the range support. I actually feel like, you know, they're better suited for kind of picking more in-your-face sort of engage type champs, you know, things that can roam around with Fnatic. And then having a Xin Zhao, but then using counterpick on something a bit more scaling oriented like Corki, I feel like that kind of limits his ability to move around the map early. And, you know, as soon as you fall down in tempo and the Karma starts having to face check Nautilus and Zed and Victor, it's really hard to get any sort of control on the map. And you're going to get picked a few times, which is exactly what happened. And then, you know, Victor, Jinx just get the free scale. I think ultimately I would really like to see, if 100 Thieves chooses red side, I would really to see or really like them to ban Victor, Caitlyn, and Karma. I feel like them taking Karma as a takeaway is not a viable strategy for them, and I would prefer them just to ban it. I heard they took blue side here, so I would still like them to either take the Victor, remove it, remove Karma, and just get themselves an AD that can punish and go from there. And kudos to Ambition for kind of cleaning up and kind of setting up their comp thematically for success.
Yeah, I love what they did. And I mean, they went with a little bit of a simpler is better, right? You were talking about on one side of the board, taking the Karma and stuff like that didn't look that comfortable. Chookies looked really good on the Nautilus, right? It was roaming around, and they were using these tools to build up this blade that they have in the name of Anti, who was looking sharp inside of this game, looking for those assassinations, having a lot of early game presence, moving around inside the map. And you'd love to see that from this. What we got here is Donbray not in the greatest spot.
Yeah, really sneaky positioning there for Anti, sets this one up, getting him first blood. And there's a lot of kills there for Anti for the rest of this game as well. He really did get the snowball going on an assassin, which is what you have to be able to do in a game like this. It's a bit easier against champions like Corki and Ezreal, both of which tend to hit their major power spikes on 3 items, whereas Zed, you really only need the Mythic to really get things going. So I think this ended up being a really just stellar way to start things off, and it led to them getting the first 3 Drakes very, very easily. And then the 4th one as well came from a really solid team fight too, which is instantly a mountain soul for this team. Super valuable setup, and it all came down to a pick like that and a lot of other picks that they were able to get on the Zed.
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. And here's that fight you were just talking about here, I believe, as you can see that they're trying. 100 Thieves are trying to figure something out, but Zoo, looking at this, man, they just were able to find all the angles they needed to here. Looking at this Jinx.
Yeah, I mean,
plays really good.
These guys have like a situation here where both Dombre and Array have to hard focus the Zed, but then in a comp before where they had double assassins, not much scaling damage, maybe that would be enough for them to kind of stave off Team Ambition there. But when you have a Jinx Victor that are just free hitting in the backline as your Zed's taking all the aggro, then you're just going to end up with a ton more DPS, and you're going to be able to front to back all these team fights.
Lived on a prayer too, right? He got focused down as Zed, had exhaust blown onto him and everything, still was able to manage to get out alive. So, I mean, Team Ambition, hey, look, when they get into their playstyle, when they get into the groove, they're able to showcase exactly what makes them a special team, what makes it to where they qualified here inside of the Proving Grounds circuit qualifier here. They were able to do this, and I'm just happy that they've been able to showcase a style that really benefits them, and it's going to be an interesting thing going into Game 3. We're in a best of 3. We are going into a game number 3 where 100 Thieves got to kind of rethink their strategy because Ambition look like they're comfortable right now.
Yeah, it looked like 100 Thieves next got a little too cute with that game 2 with the trying to do a takeaway and try to do something maybe they're not used to. And then, it was good on Team Ambition to just go to something that's simple, works thematically well together, synergizes, is able to get you into that mid to the late game. And really for both sides, it's, 100 Thieves next. It's like, all right, let's go back to what works with us. If you're a 100 Thieves next fan, you're not too concerned. This is a bit of a slip up. And then if you're Ambition, it's like, all right, don't let this get too ahead of you. Don't try to go back to doing, the cute stuff that you're doing in the first game. Just keep it nice and simple. It's not broken. Just keep going from there and just try to draft yourself like a pushing bot lane and some scaling damage.
Yeah, we're in a very unique situation where all these teams are very new to each other. They're very new to the patch and the new season as well. And it's just a lot of new things piling up on top of each other, new items, everything. And you really do need to go back to what is comfortable for your team and go back to those basics to get things started and get all these very, very crucial wins as we are in the main event here for the Proving Grounds qualifier.
Yes, we are. This is the make or break. And real quick, I do want to just touch on, to add on to that, there's a lot of players here who this is their first foray into the competitive scene, right? And we got to see quite a few examples of that. Zoo, you probably went ahead and pointed out a couple of them. And Smets, you also saw a couple of them calling them out in the middle of that game where it's just like, oh, wait, why is Anti dancing in the river? And then it's just like, wait, hold on, Sniper TPing in the top lane, nobody's there. There's like moments like that where you do get to see those weaknesses, that competitive experience that they do not have get showcased, and it's definitely one of those things. Seeing how they learn and seeing how they progress is going to be very important as the series continues.
And as the whole Proving Grounds tournament continues as well, we're going to see some more examples of that one, I'm sure. But yeah, it's just a learning curve to everything in League of Legends. So looking forward to them, surpassing that.
Okay. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to send it over to a break. When we come back, game number 3 between 100 Thieves Nets and Team Ambition will be underway. So make sure you don't touch that browser, as we'll be right back.